Hey Flosstube! I'm back at it again. I didn't think I'd be back this soon, but I am. I'm not going to show you progress on my projects that I showed you in my WIT parade today, but I thought it might be kind of fun to do a quick finish parade. I'm home early enough today that I have a little bit of daylight. I've got like a small ring light, I've got this lamp, so hopefully everything shows up better and hopefully my quality is a little bit better today. I upgraded my computer over break for work, and so we'll see if that makes the difference, editing and recording on a computer versus my phone. So we'll see. I'm going to show you kind of just a variety of finishes since the time I've been stitching. I'm not going to show you everything because some of what I've stitched has been given as gifts to other people, but I might insert a few pictures if I have them. I'm also a little limited on a few of them because they are hanging in my office at work. And so I have pictures of those too, and I can talk a little bit about them. And I'll try to see if I can like put a picture here or something. I don't know. Maybe over here. Who knows? I'll put a picture on the screen. But I'll kind of go through, I'll show you some things. I'm not going to go like in exact chronological order, but I'll try to maybe start with my first one, which is right here behind me. And it is dusty. I probably should have cleaned this first. But this was one of my very first projects, and I got pulled back into the world of cross-stitching through like snarky and subversive cross-stitch. I say pulled into, like I think I stitched a little bit when I was little, but I don't remember. But this was by Alicia Watkins, and you could, oh, there we go. You could personalize it with like some of your own germs. And I thought it was so funny that Black Plague was one of the options. And so that is the one that I chose. And then a few years later we had COVID. So sorry world. But you can tell this was a first project. But I think I did pretty good for my first project. Let's see. Like that backstitching is not too bad on E. coli and salmonella. So first one, I put this in my guest bathroom here at my house. And people compliment it still, even though it was my very first project. One of the other earlier ones that I did, of course, is at the bottom of this pile. Let me see if I can grab it. I stitched this one in 2016, and ooh, I can't remember who the designer is. And you know what? I'm gonna switch this light off for this one. And maybe we won't get such bad reflection. Oh, no, you're gonna get reflection from the computer. Maybe if I'm back here. There we go. I can't remember who the designer was. It was a pattern I bought off of Etsy. It had a scheme where you could stitch it in white or you could stitch it on black, and I liked the black Ada. And I finished it in like September of 2016, and I proudly hung it in my house. And then it still hangs in my house to this day. It means a lot to me, but I wish it would have had a greater meaning for us all in 2016. But I forgot to tell you guys about the framing on this one. I did have this one professionally framed at a place that is local to me, or was local to me. It's no longer. That place was called Porter's Craft and Frame. My mom used to work there in the Idaho Falls branch when I was really little. It was like a staple, and it doesn't exist anymore. But I did have this one framed there, and I just love it. I still hang it in my house and enjoy watching or looking at it all the time. So that was one of my older finishes. Let's see here. I'm trying to decide if there's like an order to how I should show you things, but I'm just gonna start pulling stuff. This one is one that I finished 2021, I think. And this is a Summer House Stitchworks. I think it was Hands-On Design collab too. Oh, it's a little crooked in there. But this is Strawberries and Mint, and it is stitched. Oh, I cannot get the hang of this camera. There we go. It's stitched on Vintage Country Mocha with weeks, as they're called for. There we go. And then you could buy this board to finish them on. This is the springtime one, I think. No, the summertime one. Ooh, I can't remember actually. I think it's springtime. And I still have to do the other ones. There's apples and sage. There is pear and rosemary, and blueberries and thyme. So Blueberries in Time is probably the spring one. This one is a Shepherd's Bush pattern. This was in the Nashville Needlework cookbook last year, and it's called Happy Place. And my naughty kittens totally have knocked this. They've knocked this off the shelf like 3 times, but this frame is pretty broken now. So it's a little cracked, but still usable. I stitched that with the kit that was bought from Shepherd's Bush, and the pattern was in the cookbook. This was finished in March of last year. This one I didn't stitch, but I pulled it off the wall to show you guys. This is one that my friend Marzi made for me for my birthday or Christmas a couple years ago, and she stitched my cats into it. So this one is Reese. This one is Elsa. She has dark brown on her back, and then this one is Jamie, and I love it. I have it in my living room. This one is not fully finished yet. He does have felt on the back, but I need to put like a little hanger on him. But this is Hoppy Halloween by Satsuma Street, and he is one of the ornament kits that you can buy. She was our designer for Stitch West this last year, and I totally loved so many of her ornament kits and bought a bunch of them. Actually, this one was out at the retreat. She sold out of it, and then Cindy at Stitchery Express had some, so I was able to get it there. This one's my most recent finish, and it is kind of funky. It's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, and that's okay because it's mine. I'm sure a lot of you remember the Target bag craze from years ago, when there were like tote bags and makeup bags and train cases that you could stitch on. I did a whole bunch of stitching during that time. So I did mostly the little makeup bag sizes, but I made one of my friends a tote bag with her roller derby logo on it. I'll try to insert a picture of that. And then I have a whole bunch of these left over. And so I decided to randomly, over the last couple of weeks, decided to stitch one because I saw them sitting in the corner of my craft room, and I thought, I have a ton of yarn that I had bought on clearance and a ton of bags, like I should find something and stitch it on a bag. And I had also recently joined Nora Corbett's Patreon to download her recent Christmas treat. And on there, she had this pattern called the Lover's Eye. And mine looks a lot different because I stitched it in yarn. I don't stitch with DMC when I do these because I just don't get good enough coverage. So I stitched it with yarn that I had from Stash, and I had to kind of figure out a way to get a lot of different shades of skin color with that yarn. So could it be better? Yes. Am I happy with it? Yes. And then for the beading, because this is much bigger than like Mill Hill beads, I needed to get a different set of beads. And so I went to Michael's and I bought different shaped beads, and I kind of wanted a variety of colors and shapes and sizes. And so I went and I just kind of converted Mill Hill beads into beads from Michael's. But I'll bring this up a little bit closer. You can kind of see, in this blue, that there's a lot of different shades there for that eyeshadow. This is an eye. I had a friend wonder if it's a nest, and that is a valid question. It could look like a nest. And then you can see in here, there are different blues and clears for that eye. This color right here, so this lighter blue, is maybe not the best bead for the eyeball. Like, it's a little bit differently shaped, but I'm happy with it. This sparkly is Krynic ribbon that I had in Stash from, I don't know, some lot I bought on eBay or something. And then, whoops, there is a little treasure here that I bought to look like a teardrop. So that is my Nora Corbett, the Lover's Eye. And I'm pretty happy with it. I still need to do a little bit of Foley finishing. When I stitch these, I rip the liner out of them, and then I used a curved needle to do kind of like a stitch in hand sort of deal, like the sewing method. So it does go a little bit faster instead of having to go in and out of the bag. If you don't have a curved needle, you can still do that, but I would suggest you flip your bag inside out so that you can reach in a little bit easier. Or I mean upside down, like stitch from this direction. So that's the Lover's Eye from Nora Corbett. This one right here is Modern Witches from the Laurel Witch. She took a break from designing over the last year, but she just recently posted on Instagram that she's coming back. And this is Modern Witches Spring Coven. So I stitched it pretty well as called for, with the exception of all of the little bits and bobs down here at the bottom. I subbed in Etoile and Krynic there to make them a little bit more sparkly, a little bit more special. Same with the blue hair and the Krynic in the halo and in the little woven crown. But oh, I love it. And then this frame I bought at an estate sale here in town. I got it for like $2 or $3. And I was like, this is perfect. It's got like this tin sort of feel in the front. And it's a little beat up, but I kind of love that most of my frames are thrifted and a little beat up. They have their own story. Okay, the next one I'm going to show you is called I Lap Dance for Satan. This was a freebie from Night Spirit Studio a few years ago when that song Montero came out from Lil Nas X, and I totally loved it. I was looking for like a quick stitch and thought that would be kind of fun to hang on the wall. So I stitched this one up with floss from Stash and on black Ada, and then just popped it in this pink frame from TJ Maxx. I kind of stitched this one with Julie, Kansas City girl in a Colorado world. She finished hers before I did. It took me a little while to get it finished up, but we were messaging each other on Instagram and giggling about the sentiment and the stitch. It was just fun. It was a fun, quick project. This one behind me is a Nora Corbett, and you can tell a lot of mine, if it's won a ribbon at the fair, I just pin it behind the frame so that it's not visible when it's hanging on the wall, but it's with it still. So this one did win a first place ribbon at the East Idaho State Fair in the beaded category. Well, we don't have a beaded category, so I had to go in the unspecified category. But this is Geranium by Nora Corbett. This is one that I stitched with excuse me, with Jordan, Tattooed Stitcher. We started it in June or July of 2021. I can't remember exactly. I think it was 21. And she finished hers in like a week. Took me a little bit longer to get mine done, but I did get it done. On this one, I did a skin conversion. I just opened up my DMC color card, and then I also kind of used a resource online, and I cannot recall who it was, but I converted skin and hair for her, and I totally loved stitching her. She's so blingy with all of her beads. And then I framed her in like a shadow box type frame to accommodate all the beads, because those bluey purple ones right here in the wings are larger, so I needed a little bit more space. But that's Geranium, and that one I entered in the fair, I think, last year. This one is another Nora Corbett. This is Taurus, however you say it. And I finished this one in the fall of last year, in November. It took me about a week to 10 days of stitching, and I stitched it on a hand dyed by Rolanda. So that one doesn't have a name, but it's an opalescent kind of bluey purple with a little bit of green in there. One notable change that I made is right here in the symbol. If you look at the charted symbol for this one, it's actually the symbol for Aries. And so I just went in and kind of mapped out a symbol for Taurus. I just did the bull and the horn symbol. And I loved stitching this one. It was fun to bead. It was fun to stitch. These, let's see here. This is a water lily, and right here is a water lily. I think it's called for with DMC Diamond, and I subbed in Petite Treasure Braid instead. Love this one. I might enter this one in the fair this year, depending on which category it'll fit into. Our fair doesn't have a category for Lugana or even weave, and so they make you enter it into the unspecified category if you stitch on that type of a fabric. This one was a recent finish as well, another Nora Corbett. This is the 2008 Christmas tree, and I stitched it on a Zweigart fabric. It doesn't come with the kit, but I did buy it as a kit. The floss came with it and the beads. The floss doesn't have enough, so if you buy it in the kit, just know that you need to buy several more skeins of balsam fir from Classic Colorworks. I think that you'll probably have enough to get by on the others. The lighter green color here on the edges is steamed broccoli, and I think with one skein you'll be fine. But the beads come in the kit, and I had plenty of beads, so I think that you'll have enough. I guess it just depends on who you buy it from. And then this down here is I think it's some DMC and some Classic Colorworks. Maybe it's all Classic Colorworks, I can't remember. But I love this one. It's so sparkly. You can kind of get a little bit of that. And then it's got a lot of treasures, like this big one here. And then all of these little bits are a treasure with a bead on top of it to anchor it in place. And then I just bought some kind of, I think it was a bathroom decoration or something, like it said bathroom rules or something, and I just popped out the whatever was in there and put this frame around it. So I repurposed that frame. And that was finished in November of this year. This one is my Cathedral Woods Goddess. You can see on the back of this one, it has a first place ribbon, and then I also grabbed the superintendent ribbon that I won for this one. So this was our superintendent's choice for her favorite in, I think overall. I don't think it was by category. I think it was like overall. This is stitched on Under the Sea Enchanted Forest from Under the Sea Fabrics, Leslie, and it's a linen, and I stitched it as called for. This is Cathedral Woods Goddess by Mirabilia. I finished it. This used to be a mirror, so it took a lot of like elbow grease, but I popped the mirror out. It had like an etched mirror. I popped that out and I separated it from the mat. Ooh, it did split a little bit right there, you can see. But I separated it from the mat and then hung picture wire and pinned all of that jazz to get it in here. I am so pleased with this one. She is so fun. She's a pretty quick stitch for Mirabilia, but the beading takes a while because she is really, really blingy. I have some of my pieces right here. I'm gonna scoot them a little bit so I can get you closer. She has a lot of Krynic as well. So there is 2 different colors of Krynic here, and then kind of a coppery Krynic here. And then she's got some water lilies. So this brown in the leaves is a water lily. This is a water lily. I think there were only 2. But so fun to stitch and so fun to display. She's a crowd pleaser for sure. I don't want to squish my ribbon. This one is probably my heaviest, so I might have to kind of back up and stand up for this one. This one got professionally framed. Pause it because I kept getting a reflective glare and I was trying to figure out a way to show it to you guys, but I'm going to show you part of her like at a time because I can't really get her all the way in the frame. But this is my Dark Queen of the Sea. She was also professionally framed by Casey Framing here in Idaho Falls, and they just did a phenomenal job. I can recommend them so highly. I will be upfront and say they are expensive, but I also chose a couple of extras with this one that increased my cost. So like I chose this giant ornate frame because I kind of liked the look of how it was flaking a little bit. It kind of made me think of something that might be like on a pirate ship, right? Like that might be recovered from the bottom of the ocean. I also chose museum glass, which is totally worth it, but as you can see, like there is a little bit of a reflection with like a ring light. If I turn this light off though, it's a little too dark to see my stitching because my natural light is gone for the day. So I'll just kind of shift it for now. There's also, you might be able to see kind of in the side over here, but there is a spacer in there because of the large beads. So right here in her trident, there are some very large pearls, and that's why I needed a spacer to be able to still put it behind glass. I totally loved stitching this one. I did the stitch along with everybody. As you can tell, I made some changes. So I recharted the colors, not recharted, I guess. I converted the colors in the Trident to silver. I liked that better than the charted gold because my queen was kind of giving me like cool, dark vibes, and I didn't like the warm gold of the queen that was charted. So I changed a lot of things. Let's see here. How am I gonna get this to the top for you? Oh, I don't know if I can. Maybe if I scoot my camera forward. There we go. Okay, so right here in her crown, I designed that crown myself. I just kind of charted it out one day. And then I stitched it using some blending filament and Krynic, and I really loved that one. I changed the beads in her hair. I actually changed quite a bit of the beading on this one because when she was beaded, she was like super blingy, super like jewelry heavy. Like she had a necklace, she had like strands of gold and things in her hair. And to me, it just wasn't the right fit for my queen. It looks amazing on other people's queens, but it wasn't the right one for her. So I just did kind of some silvery beads in her hair. I changed her eyes to this icy piercing blue. And then one of my favorite changes is right here, instead of doing a necklace, I took coral bugle beads and I kind of made like a collar type for like finish for her, to kind of make it look like that coral is growing out of her skin in like a regal sort of way. Like her natural body is like recognizing that she's a queen, so it's forming a collar for her. I loved that. And I did a couple of, I think it's treasure braid, not a bead, in the eyes there for eyeballs. And then the beads that I put in the ink are kind of like, they're not reading very well, but they're kind of like a bluey purple Toho bead to kind of give a little bit of shine, but not a ton of extra color. Like I think in the charted version, they were blue or pink. I can't remember exactly. And I didn't want that. I wanted it to still be inky. Let's see here. Are there any other changes I should tell you about? I don't think so. I think I covered it. The beading was also different in the Trident on their charted version. I loved the tattoos in the bottom there. That was so fun to stitch. She won a second place ribbon in the fair last year. Oh, I did also change her top, her anatomy there. They were charted a lot bigger, a little more out there, and I just kind of shrunk them down a little bit. So that was fun. Loved stitching her. She hangs in my bedroom. This one is a Mirabilia that I finished last year. Let's see, I'm gonna have to probably back up for this one a little bit too. This one also has a first place ribbon from last year. She won in the linen person category. This is Elizabeth. It's a Mirabilia, and I started this one in 2019, I think. It took me about 4 years to stitch it. And I just totally love her. She was such a labor of love. She took a long time, but she was worth it. She's got this giant dress. And she's a fun Mira because she doesn't have a ton of beading. So she's got just these little petite beads at the base of her skirt. And then she's got some beads up here in her hair. Here, I'm gonna bring this a little bit closer. There we go. And I actually changed those beads a little bit. They were kind of a gunmetal gray to match like the black and the kind of the shine of her top of her dress. But I wanted them to be more purple, like the flowers in her hair. So I kind of changed it to a matte purple bead. She is stitched as called for on Natural Light Witchelt with DMC. And then the frame I thrifted. Where did I get this one from? I think I got it from, I don't know, a place right by my house. It had a big like canvas painting in it that someone had done. And I just popped that out. It's a little bit dirty. Like there's some spots here on the base. Pardon the sirens. They come by my house all the time because they take my one-way street up to the connecting road. So it might get a little bit louder. We'll see. Sounds like they're getting quieter though. But I love this frame. I got it for a steal. I think I got it for like $15 or something like that. and she hangs here in my living room. So that is Elizabeth. And then right here behind her is another ribbon winner. She got 4th place in her category. She was one that I had to kind of converse and discuss with the ladies who enter the pieces because she fit a multitude of different categories, but we ultimately decided to put her in fantasy because for me, she really seems like Mina from Dracula. We've got that castle in the background. We've got this beautiful woman. Like, she just always felt that way to me. And with the castle, we thought it had a more fantastical element to it. But she probably could have been in the Ada person category too. This is Riolis Midnight. It was stitched from a kit, and I was just totally bewitched the entire time I was stitching it. I did her face right off the bat, and she just sucked me in. It was so much fun to stitch her. I love the movement in this design. Like, you can see the way that things are moving around her skirt. It seems magical, but it also is filled with movement. I also loved the little pops of color in her hair here with the little flowers. She does have an unnaturally long neck. That is a design flaw, but I love her anyway. The big moon was really fun to stitch. And the fun part about the castle here is it uses so much of the background Ada that really not a ton of it is stitched. It's just kind of that silhouette, which is fun too with the tree over here. This isn't stitched at all. It's just fabric popping through. She is one of my faves. She hangs downstairs. One other really kind of fun thing about her is that the superintendent of needlework at the fair loved her so much that she contacted me and said, hey, can I borrow your pattern? I really want to stitch this one too. So that was kind of fun. It felt like a compliment in addition to the ribbon. I'm going to give all of you who watch this a job for me. This one has a companion that is by the same designer that is a mermaid. And it has the same sort of feel that is like the movement around her. It kind of looks like she's like looking behind her and the waves and the water are splashing up. Like, there's a lot of like this confetti stitching to show movement. She is impossible to find. It's called Riolis Mermaid. The code name is 1018. The serial number is 1018. I cannot find it anywhere. I've looked for years. If you ever stumble on it, please buy it and then contact me and I would buy it from you. But I would love to have that companion piece with her. And I'm also happy to share this pattern when it's returned to me if anybody wants to stitch that. Let's see here. Do I have any more finishes to show you? I think I've kind of made it through things. There are a few pieces that I do want to show you that I didn't stitch, but that have some significance to me. And one of them is right here. Let me just grab it. So last year, my grandmother died. My grandma Moon died. And we went and cleaned out her storage unit the spring after she died. And she had all sorts of wonderful, cool, amazing things. This table that I'm sitting at is a table from my grandmother. And this piece was hanging in her home. And we think it was stitched by my great-grandma Bodley. But it is embroidery. And it is so beautiful. And the reason that I wanted to show this to you is because you know, this is like an heirloom piece that my grandma held on to for years, and now I'll hold on to it for years. And it has so much character into it. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. Let me see if I can adjust this. But down here in this leaf, you can see pencil markings from where she was sketching it out. And there are a couple little, you know, quirky things about it here and there. Some little, you know, a little bit of mess, a little bit of personalization, a few errors. And that's what I love about it, is that, you know, it just kind of shows that we are not perfect stitchers, but we can love the things that we put together and we can hold on to them and share them with other people and pass them on. Like, I always joke about my stuff ending up in a landfill someday. And some of it will. It's inevitable. It's fine. But somebody might hold on to it and treasure it, and they're not going to care. They might even love it more if I mess it up a little bit. So here's Great Grandma Bodley's embroidery. And the other one that I want to show you is one that I bought off of somebody on Etsy, but I framed it myself. And it was a long sought after kit, a Dimensions kit that was out of print, called Aurora. And one day I was on Etsy and somebody had posted it. Okay, this one does not have museum glass, so we're gonna have to kind of adjust. There we go. You're gonna see a little bit of reflection on the glass here. I'll move it forward to kind of get some of the detail of the stitching. But anyway, somebody had finished this and was selling their finished piece. I think the stitcher's name was Rachel. And she had finished it and was selling it, and I bought it because I'd been looking for the kit for a lot of years, not a lot of success. It was always very expensive. And I thought, this is a way for me to enjoy this finished product and not have to hunt down that kit, spend a lot of time stitching it. Like, I was just really grateful for the stitcher that was selling it, and she did a great job. This piece makes me think of East of the Sun, West of the Moon, which I love. I love that fairy tale, that folk tale. And I just reframed it in here. Now, Dimensions kits are kind of hard to frame because they're not exactly sized to regular standard frames. And this one, the stitcher kind of pulled it a little wonky when she was stitching it. And so even with a lot of stretching, a lot of ironing, a lot of washing, I couldn't ever get it totally straight. And so what I had to do with this one is kind of pull some of the stitching behind as I pinned to get it to even out and to get it to fit in a frame. Oh, I cannot get used to that. There we go. Sorry about that light. But there we go. This is Aurora. Great. Well, that's kind of most of the finishes that I want to show to you today. I may, if I can figure it out, I'm still new to editing and all of that, but I may try to put in pictures at the end. Maybe I'll do some voiceover if I can to show you and talk with you about some of my other finishes. I have 3 pieces that hang in my office at work. One's a sampler, one's a Little House Needleworks project, and the other one is Tiger Lily, which is a Nora Corbett. And so I'll try to do either a short video from there or put in a lot of pictures and show you some of those. So put in a couple pictures of some of the Target bags that I've stitched if I can figure out how to put it in. But yeah, I am happy to share all my finishes with you today. Hopefully we have more to show you in the next year. Thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing, and thank you so much for all of your lovely, lovely comments in my last video. Everybody was so supportive and so welcoming, and I just feel really excited about being part of this now. I will hopefully try to film an update video in the next week or 2 and show you what I've been stitching on. I've got quite a bit of progress on at least 2 of my projects, so I'll update you and keep you in the know with where I'm at. Have a great week, and I will chat with you all later. Bye. This is Tiger Lily by Nora Corbett. This one hangs in my office at work. I stitched it mostly as called for. I did do 1/1 skin, and I will never do it again. I hated it so much, but I love the finished project. This one is called Sarah Spurr. It's by Carriage House Samplings, and it is an adaptation of the original pattern. I stitched it off of a model that was at Keepsakes, and I stitched this one with Rika from House of Stitch and Stash. It brightened up the original colors quite a bit, so now there's more blue and pink and cream, whereas the original had a lot of red and dark colors. It also eliminated the stamp-like border in the original and just made it a very simple line, and I love how it came together. It got first place in its category at the fair. This one is called Lavenders Blue. It's by Little House Needleworks, and I stitched this one several years ago. It's just cute and simple. I love the verse. I can't help but think of Cinderella when I see this one, and I sing the song in my head. The kids at work also seem to really like it. This is a Target bag that I made for my friend for her birthday one year. It is her roller derby team's logo. She was really into roller derby at the time, but she doesn't do derby much anymore, and so hopefully she still uses it. This was a bag I stitched for my friend Britt. We kind of did a swap. I made her one of these bags, and she made me a bag for some of my sewing notions. I cannot recall who the designer of this pattern is. I got it on Etsy. This was one I designed and made for one of my friends, Leslie. It's based off of A Court of Thorns and Roses. And on the back side of this, I did the Night Court 3 mountains with the stars. And it turned out really fun. This was a target bag I made for my friend Elise. She was really into birding, and this was actually the first target bag that I stitched, so it was a learning process. I think I stitched it off a perler bead pattern. And this was my last target bag that I'm going to show you today. I stitched this for a coworker for a Valentine's office swap. It was her dog, oh, I can't remember the name, but I adapted a pattern from Etsy. This was one that I made for my sister for Christmas many years ago, back before she started stitching. We used to play Pokemon all the time as kids, and it was a lot of fun to stitch. This is a Clouds Factory pattern called Spooky. I can't remember, it was part of like the Words to Live By. There was a whole series of them, and this is the only one that I stitched. I did this on Ada, I think back in 2016 or 2017. This is one I made for my friend Marzi years ago, back when she got into roller skating. I customized the skate to the old skates that she used to wear and framed it for her and gave it to her for her birthday. It's also an Etsy pattern. I can't recall who the designer is, I'm sorry, but if you want it, message me. This is a Priscilla and Chelsea pattern that I stitched for my mom one Christmas. It's a little red truck hauling a Christmas tree, but she loved it and she's hung it on the tree for the last several Christmases. This is a pattern I stitched for my dad. It's a prairie schooler freebie of 2 pheasants. He is a bird hunter, and I turned this into an ornament the same year that I gave my mom the red truck Christmas ornament.